Hello there. Thank you for staying with us and welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I'm Victor Matthias. Now, the country's current political state has been a beehive of activities as candidates on a daily pick expression of interest and nomination forms despite the high cost of the forms set by political parties. Now, from the office of the president down to the state houses of assembly, party headquarters have seen aspirants throng in to make their intentions known. Today on the program, we will be looking at the prospects of young candidates who have claimed that the price of the forms have been high and kind of, puts them off out of the whole process. And joining us to look at all of that, of course, I'll introduce them later on in the show. But before we get to all of that, let's first of all take a look at the trending topics in the past week.
It was yet another Mother's Day celebration, a day which gives families the chance to show their appreciation for their mothers. It is a day to honor mothers and motherhood. But the celebration is arguably the most celebrated in the world, as the actual date of the celebration varies in different parts of the globe. The Academic Staff Union of Universities has rolled over its ongoing strike for another 12 weeks. A statement signed by ASU's president, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, said this was to give the government enough time to satisfactorily resolve all the outstanding issues. ASU said it took this decision after its National Executive Council meeting, which started Sunday night at the Comrade Festus Iyayi National Secretariat, University of Abuja.
Well, there you go. Those were some of the trends in the past week, but you can also be a part of the conversation from wherever you're watching. Just tweet at us at Channels TV, at Victor_MBIDI, at Channels Beam, and you can also use the hashtag Channels Beam. But joining us to look at today's topic, we have with us right here in the Lagos studio, Ibukun Adeni. He is a software engineer, an entrepreneur. He is also a public affairs analyst who is very passionate about how Nigeria can use technology to become a global leader. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Of course. We also have joining us via Zoom from Asaba in Delta State, Elvis Akpobi. He is a youth advocate and leadership enthusiast. He is the founder and executive director of the Not Too Young to Lead initiative, a grassroots movement inspiring youth to take up leadership roles in Nigeria. Elvis, it's a pleasure to have you as well on the show.
Thank you for having me, Victor.
Yeah, sure, you're welcome. So kickstart the conversation for us, Elvis. So much has been going on, in the past few days, weeks, forms being picked here and there. But how are young people doing, in terms of picking up forms and, showing their intentions to run for political office?
I believe that we find ourselves in a country where it seems as if there's oligarchy and hegemony, in the sense that a particular set of people want to keep empowering themselves financially, economically, and politically, so they can recycle themselves. And young persons are finding very, very difficult to get involved in politics lately, like picking up their nomination forms, because if you check the party prizes and nomination forms, it's not encouraging at all. And to an extent, I'm not happy with it, because you see, even the processes to get these forms becomes very, very difficult for young people, because you find out that a particular party will fix it. They'll come out publicly with a particular price to pick nomination form. But when you get to those parties, the bills you pay that are not announced, they are outrageous. And you see young persons, it reduces the enthusiasm for young persons to get involved in this forthcoming 2023 elections. And but there are still other young persons that are doing very, very well, are taking the bull by the horn, and they've gone to pick nomination forms, and we're supporting them.
Yeah, so like you said, despite all of the encumbrances that are, inherent, in the political party structure, some have actually, been able to cross all of those hurdles and pick forms. So if you would say maybe enumerate, that would be lovely to hear.
Okay, the problem is, let me use my state as an example. I must commend my governor because he gave Senator Dr. Ifayoko, I gave the young person, on exception, I gave young person the privilege to be in governance. Young persons with character and content, they are appointees today, but it takes more than that. Because if we keep going to campaigns, if you go to every campaign today, they will be the genocrats, like I call them, the old wagons, they will keep saying power to the youth, and the youth will respond, power to the youth. But it's not commensurating the physical, because you find out that it's only few young persons.
All right,
To get it, it's very, very difficult. Firstly, you pay for forms, and there are some leaders who have an inferiority complex that are looking at, if this young person with this intelligence gets to that table, this person will be a problem to us. So you find out that they look for a way to create hiccups to the growth of that young aspirant. But back in Delta State here, I'm very, very happy we have a large mass of young persons who have purchased nomination form. It's not left for us, the civil society, people like myself, to amplify the need for those persons to become party flag bearers, irrespective of political affiliation. Because at the moment, Nigeria needs young persons with character, responsive people, and people with content to drive the conversation of our country.
Well, we have to wait, till, the end of the month, and also, maybe the first and the second week of next month to see, who would be a flag bearer. But let me just hold you there for a bit and get to hear from you. Ibukun, what have you seen? How encouraging would you say the process has been, especially, for young people trying to pick up nomination forms?
Okay, so I'm going to explain this from the perspective of the two main political parties, APC and PDP. Let me start with APC. In APC, what is going on is totally different. The principal of the party, President Muhammadu Buhari, is leaving the office. And the process of purchasing that form is almost like a farewell program. APC is a socialist party. They are a party that believes that government should get bigger and bigger. Like, if the president has his way, he will bring NITEL back. He would give NTA $500 million so that they can take over the media space.
That's conjecture.
Yes, that is socialist party. They believe in bigger government. They believe in government should provide almost everything. That's why they believe in centralized structures. So when you have a government that is designed like that, majority of the finances, majority of the money that is made by the country remains in the hands of the government rather than in the private sector, right? So in the past 7 years of President Muhammadu's administration, the government officials have been exposed to so much money. So 100 million is like, the problem is, if you're not even buying form, it's almost like you don't even appreciate what the president has done. But
the money is not going to the president; it's going to the party.
Yes, but it is still a way to just say thank you to the party, to be in preparation of the next coming election. It's like a donation. It's like crowdfunding. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's like everybody's putting money together, appreciating the president.
Is that why young people are not buying forms?
The young people. That if a young person should, it's not like young people don't have 100 million in the APC.
And not to forget, in the APC, they said it's 50% discount.
It's not like they don't have that money, but it's almost going to be like, it's like you coming to the office in a Mercedes-Benz, maybe the type of Mercedes-Benz that your boss is driving. So the young people in the APC, it's not like they don't have the money. They won't buy the presidential form because it's almost like overshowing the. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Do you mean it's an affront?
Yes. So the 100 million is not a lot of money. Yeah. It is a lot of money if you're outside the system. If you're a common Nigerian and you're looking at 100 million. These people make 100 million every, let me not just say things without facts, but they're exposed to a lot of money. So 100 million is not a lot of money. I mean, one of the political leaders have even said it, that if you don't have 100 million, then you're not serious. So it's not 100 million is not a big deal if you are in the system.
I think we're dwelling too much on the APC, even in the PDP, where the form is set at 40 million for president, and also from 40 million naira below. I think the list is 2 million naira for State House of Assembly.
Yes.
I mean, how are the youth faring in that perspective?
Now, if you for the PDP, PDP is the principal, the person in front, the most likely candidate to win the ticket is Atiku Abubakar. And
that's also conjecture. But
yes.
Yeah.
So the way the political party works, the primaries is the most important thing. So they have an architecture where everybody is also crowdfunding, right? Everybody brings money together, puts it, right? Goes around, lobby, puts money in the hands of as many delegates as possible. Because after the primaries, the party carries majority of the responsibility of the campaign, right? The candidate is not really going to be the one everybody is going to be working for. So it's a crowdfunding mechanism that has been designed. So it's believed that if you want to contest seriously for that position, you should be able to gather that amount of money. You should have even been successful in whatever whatever endeavor you have been doing privately, that you should be able to, it's a lot less at the PDP, so they feel like it's still fair that if you have 40 million, maybe, you know, and the money that you still go around to every local government and share, then maybe you are speaking, you know, what they want to hear.
So, because even at the SDP is about 35 million, so it's still well, it's still on the average according to political parties. But let me quickly bring back Elvis. Elvis, Mr. Adeni is claiming that, you know, what the parties are doing pretty much they're just trying to crowd fund for the general elections when the time comes. But you know, that at the same time, you know, you still have young people also out there who want to be in the process, who want to take over the process. So if you're not part of the crowdfunding, so to speak now, you know, how do you get yourself in that position? You know, let's not even look at the fact that your character and competence and capacity and all of that.
If you observe, we will tell ourselves the bitter truth, because we are first of all Nigerians before we get ourselves involved in political affiliation. If you observe, with the amounts being mentioned, you and I know that this is the worst time to be in Nigeria youth. And with the policies we've had in the past 7 years, it's very, very difficult for a young Nigerian to just cough out 40 million. So it becomes obvious that, judging from what my fellow guest is saying, you cannot patronize the party as a young person with such amount of money, because there are barely few Nigerians, except those that are one way or the other be privileged to tap from the resources of our beloved country, that will cough out 40 or 100 million just to become a president at the moment. So I feel most of these genocrats, like I call them, are using money, the lack of the fact that they've proliferated poverty, and the young persons don't have access to this money to cut the ladder of social mobility or political mobility for young people. So young people cannot really. There's one particular person I wouldn't want to mention his name in the APC that he has been running around. There were times he was, you know, using some comments on social media. I would not want to mention his name. I'm here to see him buy nomination form for the APC, the member of the APC, because I think that he doesn't have that 100 million to play around with. And don't forget, the 100 million is the official price. 40 million is the official price. There are some lobbies you do. There's some money you will pay. So after paying, let's assume for the PDP, after playing around, you pay 50 million. You still have to go and lobby delegates. If you pay 100 million in the APC, you still have to go and lobby delegates. Where is such money going to come from? For young people, I'm talking about young people. Because people playing around with 100 million and 40 million today, these are persons that have been in the system, that have been privileged to tap from our economic resources. They didn't fall from the sky. A handful of them, if you ask them how they got this money, if you trace them back, these are our collective resources. So it's very, very difficult for a young person at the moment to play around with such money.
Okay, so we, you know, like you said, you know, where would the money come from? And, you know, Ibukun here is saying that it is a crowdfunding process. But, I mean, if we just take, you know, some steps back to maybe like a few months ago when we had the EndSARS protest, young people in this country, you know, crowdfunded, gathered money for that protest, you know, in millions, actually. You know, if you go by the breakdown that FEMCO gave, and, you know, all others who gave also to, you know, other causes, young people were able to raise a lot of money to support the EndSARS protest. Why is it a different ball game this time around? Why can't someone, you know, who would represent the youth, you know, present himself, and the youth would crowdfund that money to ensure that he buys a ticket in any of the. So I'll let you chew on this, and then we'll go on a break. And when we come back, you just give me your perspectives on this. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We still have with us our panelists right here in the Lagos studio, as well as via Zoom from Delta. Elvis, again, let me come back to you. Just before we went on break, I was trying to bring your attention to the fact that young people actually gathered a lot of money, crowdfunding, during the EndSARS protest, and, they were able to keep the protest alive, providing water, providing food, and so many other things during the protest. Why is it a different ballgame this time around?
In my own school of thought, I believe that the EndSARS project it has to do with both the good, the bad Nigerian citizens. If you observe properly, most of the victims of EndSARS, aside the fact that ordinary citizens were attacked, like law-abiding citizens were attacked, it was a project sponsored by 40%, I may be wrong, but 40% sponsored by mostly the internet fraudsters, and there's this way of money transfer, cryptocurrency, and all that. So it was about their business. A handful of persons doing illegal jobs, whom were victims of EndSARS, not forgetting the fact that there are other law-abiding citizens that were victims of EndSARS. And for me, it has to do with interest. I feel those persons, those young Nigerians that sponsored the EndSARS protest, that saw us through, they've not gotten interest in the political conversation of this country. Because if they do, same way we can change the narrative. Because from what you said, I noticed money was coming from right, left, center. But I asked myself, how come same enthusiasm we put in the EndSARS process, we don't have it in this forthcoming election? Because 2023 election affords young Nigerians to either choose leaders that will add more burden to them, or choose leaders that will make them stop escaping Nigeria, because a handful of Nigerians are escaping Nigeria at the moment, not because the land is greener on the other side, but because they want to survive.
All right. Do you think that is possible? Do you think young people can come together and do that?
Absolutely. A presidential election is not a charity event. It's about popularity. So if a young candidate wants to come up, and lead this country, we have to be looking at the most popular young candidates. People like Davido. Davido has done this before. On his birthday, I think that was last year, he crowdfunded 250 million, saying he wanted to buy a Lamborghini. So the capacity to gather this money together is not, I don't think is an issue I don't think the money may seem far, if out of reach, if you are looking at, going into your bank account and paying that money. But if you look at Davido, 250, just because he wanted to buy a new car or clear his car or something, I can't remember what he said. He
eventually used it for charity.
He now gave the money out at the end of the day. Imagine what will happen if we all go and beg Davido that, okay, Davido run for president. Do you know what the youth of Nigeria will give him for that kind of cause? So I don't think it's much of a problem. I think there are a lot of popular Nigerians that can raise the money, that can raise above, that can even give these guys a run for their money. We are more than them. The youths are more than these. How many presidential candidates? We can raise more money than them. So, so it's about the youth sitting down, coming together, even being ready instead of just, lip service or...
So one of the reasons why this is not happening, according to Elvis, is the fact that, young people are not invested in the politics of the country.
Yes.
Do you agree?
Yes, and a lot of the reasons why is because a lot of young people don't really understand what the problem of Nigeria is. Everybody hears all sorts of things, promises. Nigerians have tried various presidents since 1999, and nobody is sure what is working. Is it corruption that is the issue? Do we need somebody that is hardworking? Do we need somebody like Peter Obi that is stingy? So people are just confused. People are just perplexed. Like they are not just sure that, okay, so first of all, the young people need to sit down together, and we need a very good, strong manifesto that would, people need to just sit down together and try and figure out what is the problem of Nigeria, what is the way forward. Then we can now find a candidate that understands this problem, understands the law, understands legislation, and knows how to, and can come out with a roadmap on how to take Nigeria from where it is into a new structure, a new Nigeria that would be beneficial to everybody.
So if you want to drive this kind of movement now, who would lead this cause? Who would champion the cause as we wind down?
It would take a lot of brilliant political minds, But for me, I think, honestly, sorry to say, and I'm not campaigning for anybody here. A while back, I listened to the speech of Vice President Atiku Abubakar at Chatham House, and he gave a very, very detailed explanation of what he believes is the problem of Nigeria. And the explanation makes a lot of sense. I recommend to anybody to go on YouTube and look for that video and watch it. And he gave, the structural issues and how he can achieve it without even going through legislation. When you listen to a report like that, you know that we don't even need to be stressing ourselves looking for anybody. We already... Not
even a young person.
We don't necessarily need a young person, because a young person will come again with another socialist idea of sharing money, and trying to, and you empower some people and some people will not benefit again, and money will be with some people. If you put one young person there, what is he going to do? Okay, is he going to give free healthcare again, or is he going to give something free again? Are they going to do trader money again, or they'll do youth money, or what? Do you get? Those are not the problems of this country. The problem of this country is structural. We need a decentralized Nigeria. Nigeria is too centered. If a policeman slaps me outside the gate here, I cannot do anything about it unless I know Muhammadu Buhari. It doesn't make sense. We need a decentralized structure. How can we achieve a decentralized structure effectively that will make everybody at peace? How can we, the revenue generating formula, sharing formula, how can we work on that formula that it will balance, it will make sense to everybody without the people that believe with both the people that believe in socialism being okay with it, with the states that feel like, okay, they don't have a lot of IGR, being okay with it. We need a unifier. We need somebody that understands this problem and can be able to come out with an architecture that at least can ease us away from, we don't need somebody that will grandstand and just say, oh, I'm so good, or I'm so brilliant, we don't need that. We need somebody that can give us a roadmap, an architecture that will work.
Elvis, let me just come to you now to get your own perspective also, as to how that youth driven, or a youth, a conglomerate, I don't know how to put it now, like a coming together of youth to produce a candidate or a person that would, bring about this leadership that is pretty much, well required at the moment. In 30 seconds as we wind down. Elvis.
Okay, like my friend said, hello?
I can hear you. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Okay, like he said, fine, a particular aspirant talked about the manifesto and all that, but the problem is that same aspirant has been in the system before now, but I think maybe since he was not the #1 citizen of the country, he couldn't implement those things. But for me, I believe that at the stage we are now, as a country and as a people, it has to make Nigeria great. Has nothing to do with being on the political left or on the political right. It has a lot to do with citizens who know that incompetence dressed up as strategy is still incompetent and still totally unacceptable. So as young persons, we should all get involved. We already know our problems. We should start working towards a solution. And I think if young persons come together, irrespective, bury their differences in political activities, differences in religion, difference in social strata, I think we'll get it right as people.
Well, let's hope that happens sooner rather than later. But I have to say thank you to you, Elvis Akpobi, for joining us on the program today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, thank you to you too as well for joining us on the show today, Bukunadeni, and sharing your thoughts. Well, we'll be watching as things would play out, from now till when the general elections would hold, and see how things would play out. But that's the show today. Thank you so very much for watching and for joining us. We would close the show and leave you with the most viewed videos on our YouTube channel in the past week.
Rivers State Governor and presidential hopeful Nyesom Wike, consulting with delegates in Kogi State, kicks off this week's top 5 videos.
I've come today as part of our consultation to speak to the delegates of my party who will be voting on the 28th and 29th of who becomes the flag bearer to change the problems we have in the country.
It followed in 4th place by President Muhammadu Buhari vowing to hand over power to whoever is voted by Nigerians. In 3rd spot, we have the video of another presidential hopeful and governor of Ekiti State reeling out his agenda for Nigeria in a question and answer session.
In my first term, we had a law in place to address a matter that was really very fundamental to all of us, but particularly to women: sexual and gender-based violence in our society. And we were the first state to have a register of convicts on gender-based violence.
Second sees the president again, this time hosting Igbo leaders, where he tells them only the courts can free the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu. While topping the charts this week is the presidential visit to Ebonyi State, where he commissioned several projects.